Chosen one, stop everything you're doing right now and anchor your spirit to this message. That compulsive need to fix it, force it, and figure it out, release it. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason and one reason only. He knows that the moment you stop striving, what he has been blocking finds its way directly to you. It all shifts in the next 24 hours. The exhaustion, the confusion, the feeling that you have to earn everything through effort and pain. But here is the part they never told you: it is not ending because you finally did enough. It is ending because you finally stopped. Think back to that moment this week when you almost pushed again, when you almost sent the message, almost made the move, almost forced the outcome, but something inside you went quiet. Something made you pause. You thought that pause was weakness. You thought that hesitation was you losing ground. It was not. That pause was obedience. That stillness was the most powerful thing you have done all week. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not place this in front of you. God did. This is a divine appointment scheduled before the foundations of the earth. You are standing at a threshold between the life you have been forcing and the life that has been waiting for you to surrender. Stay until the very last second of this message, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the divine verdict that releases you from the obligation to strive. I am going to show you exactly why every dream that feels delayed is not stuck, it is in motion. And at the end, we will seal this season of rest with a decree that gives the universe permission to finally deliver what your striving kept pushing away. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you leave before you understand why the waiting was never the problem. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been quiet, it has been tense. Like something is supposed to happen, but every time you reach for it, it moves. Maybe you have been waking up this week and immediately running through the list in your mind before your feet even touch the floor. The things you need to do, the moves you need to make, the prayers you need to pray harder, the people you need to contact, the opportunities you cannot afford to miss. Or maybe you have been lying awake at 3 inches the morning this week, staring at the ceiling, feeling like everyone around you is moving forward while you are somehow standing still, wondering what you are doing wrong, wondering what you have missed. You feel like you are in a race you were not told the rules of. And the harder you run, the further the finish line seems to get. And in that exhaustion, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your thoughts right now. He is telling you that the reason your dreams have not arrived is because you have not done enough. He is replaying that moment from last week when you chose to rest instead of push. That afternoon when you stepped back. That evening when you let go of the outcome. That morning when you decided not to force it. The accuser is telling you that was laziness. He is telling you that because of that surrender, the blessing was delayed. He is telling you that God only rewards those who grind, who sacrifice, who bleed for what they want. And if you are not bleeding, you do not deserve it. But I need you to hear what Scripture actually says about this moment. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Listen to that promise. He did not say, "Come to me, and I will give you a strategy." He did not say, "Come to me, and I will hand you a harder plan." He said, "I will give you rest." The rest is not the delay. The rest is the delivery mechanism. What God promised you does not require your striving to arrive. It requires your trust. You are not falling behind. You are not losing. You are not being punished for the moments you chose stillness over struggle. You are not in a cycle of delay. You are in a season of arrival. The exhaustion you feel is not the weight of failure. It is the weight of a person who has been carrying something God never asked them to carry. It is the tension of hands that have been gripping so tightly that they cannot open to receive what is already on its way. You thought the rest was weakness. You thought surrender was giving up. Let me reframe your reality right now. The rest is the weapon. The stillness is the strategy. The moment you stop forcing the door is the moment heaven opens it from the other side. Most chosen ones who hear a message like this feel the fire for about 48 hours. Then the dryness returns, the doubt creeps back, the silence gets louder, and within a week, they are exactly where they were before, waiting, wondering, spiritually exhausted. That cycle breaks today, or it does not. The inner sanctum puts a prophetic word from the throne room in your hands. Every single morning, 365 days of hearing God before the world can speak first. The link is in the first pinned comment. It will not be there forever, and neither will this window God just opened for you. You were never meant to earn your way into destiny. That's the first, most foundational truth. Heaven wants to settle deep within your spirit tonight. This isn't just a comforting thought. It is a spiritual anchor designed to stabilize your soul. And if this truth, profound in its simplicity, truly lands and takes root in the fertile ground of your heart, it will begin an irreversible process of dismantling years, perhaps even decades, of ingrained striving, of endless performing, of the exhausting belief that your breakthrough, your peace, your very worth, was somehow contingent upon your relentless output. We've been fed a narrative that equates value with visible effort, success with endless toil, and divine favor with human achievement. But what if that entire paradigm is a misunderstanding, a spiritual miscalculation that has kept you running on a hamster wheel, perpetually out of breath, just inches from the very finish line you desperately seek? This is about liberation, a gentle untangling from the cords of self-sufficiency that have kept you bound. It's about recognizing that the universe doesn't operate on a transactional economy of effort for grace. Your inherent worth was established before you ever lifted a finger, before you ever formed a thought, before you ever uttered a prayer. It is a birthright, not a wage. Before we go any further into this seismic revelation, if this initial spark has ignited a hunger in your soul, if you feel an undeniable pull to go deeper into this profound truth, to truly grasp the spiritual principles of divine rest, of effortless alignment, and what it truly means to allow the creator of the cosmos to move on your behalf, to orchestrate miracles you could never manage, then there is a full written guide, an e-book, available right now in the description below. It was crafted with precision and deep spiritual insight, specifically for the weary seeker, for the tireless performer, for exactly the person watching this message right now. Go get it. Allow it to be a tangible companion on this journey of release and reception, and then come back, because what follows is not merely information, it is a key poised to unlock something dormant, something magnificent within you, something that will open the floodgates of grace. Now, let's talk about what rest actually is, because the common perception of rest is so utterly flawed, so far removed from its divine intention, that this misunderstanding has been subtly, insidiously, costing people everything that truly matters: their peace, their joy, their divine alignment, and ultimately, their very destiny. When we hear the word rest, our minds often conjure images of idleness, of laziness, of giving up. We think of collapsing from exhaustion, not actively engaging with divine power. We might even associate it with a lack of ambition, a surrender of vision, or an absence of faith. But let me be unequivocally clear. Rest, in its truest, most potent spiritual sense, is none of these things. Rest is not passivity, it is profound, active presence. Rest is not giving up, it is giving over. Rest is not the absence of faith, it is the absolute pinnacle, the most advanced form of faith. It is a deeply intentional posture of absolute, unshakable trust in a power far greater than your own. It is the conscious decision, and make no mistake, it is a radical, deliberate decision that pushes against every instinct of the human ego to stop managing, to stop manipulating, to stop trying to force into existence what only an infinite, omnipotent God can move. It is the courageous act, not of resignation, but of declaration, saying with the conviction of a surrendered warrior, "I have done what I was asked to do. I have poured out my best, and now I stand still. I quiet my anxious heart, and I watch the salvation of the Lord unfold." This, my friend, is not weakness. This is not fragility. This is, in fact, the most powerful, most spiritually aligned, and most sovereign position a human being can possibly occupy. It is the space where divine intervention finds its open door. Consider for a moment the epic, harrowing scene at the Red Sea. Picture it vividly in your mind's eye. Moses and the entire nation of Israel were standing at the very precipice of the impossible, pinned between an uncrossable, churning abyss of water in front of them and the thundering, vengeful army of Pharaoh, rapidly closing in from behind. Every single natural indicator, every human calculation, every ounce of rational thought screamed that they were utterly finished. They were trapped. They were doomed. And in that terrifying, desperate, impossible moment, that exact, breathless moment when panic was undoubtedly seizing hearts and minds, God did not issue a command to run. He didn't instruct them to fight, to draw swords, to strategize. He certainly didn't tell them to figure it out, to devise an escape plan, to swim for their lives. No, his instruction was simple, profound, and utterly counterintuitive to the human spirit under duress. He said, "Stand still." He said, "Be still and watch the salvation of the Lord." He made it abundantly clear that the battle was never, ever theirs to win. It was theirs to witness. The victory belonged to him alone. And the ones among them who could not rest in that moment, the ones whose minds were already spiraling into chaos, already negotiating their surrender, already preparing for the worst, they almost missed the earth-shattering miracle that was already in motion, orchestrated by God, long before their terrified eyes could even perceive its beginnings. Their internal noise, their fear-driven activity, threatened to blind them to the very deliverance they cried out for. They were on the verge of missing the parting of the waters because their souls were too agitated to perceive the divine hand at work. And now, with that powerful imagery seared into your consciousness, allow me to tell you, that is your life right now. You are standing, metaphorically speaking, at your own Red Sea. Perhaps it's a financial Red Sea, with debts like towering walls and an empty bank account like an insurmountable ocean. Perhaps it's a relational Red Sea, with broken connections behind you and an uncertain future stretching before you. Maybe it's a health Red Sea, a career Red Sea, a spiritual Red Sea. And just like the Israelites, everything within your natural man, every impulse of your conditioned self, wants to swim, wants to fight, wants to force a solution, wants to times do something, times anything to alleviate the crushing pressure. Because here's the raw, visceral truth. Stillness, in the face of rising water, in the face of apparent doom, feels terrifyingly like failure. It feels like surrender in the wrong sense. It feels like defeat. It feels like you're simply resigning yourself to the inevitable. But here is where this revelation goes infinitely deeper, beyond what most people are willing or able to grasp, beyond the superficial layers of religious platitudes and into the very core of your being. The reason rest, this divine, powerful, trusting stillness, feels so utterly unbearable to you is not because you are inherently lazy, nor is it because you lack vision or ambition. No, the root is far more tender, far more personal. It's because somewhere in the intricate tapestry of your personal story, stillness became tragically associated with being forgotten. Somewhere along the winding path of your life, in the quiet, formative moments, you learned a deeply damaging lesson: that if you stopped moving, if you ceased your relentless activity, you stopped mattering. Perhaps it was a childhood where love and affirmation were conditional, where they had to be painstakingly earned through performance, through achievement, through being good enough. Perhaps it was a painful season of waiting, a prolonged period of silence, where nothing you hoped for manifested, and that deafening quiet felt not like peace, but like a profound, crushing rejection from life, from God, from those you loved. Maybe it was a persistent voice, a powerful external narrative, or even an internalized echo of someone else's judgment, a parent, a teacher, a mentor, or the relentless hum of societal pressure that declared with unwavering certainty, "The world doesn't wait for slow people. Only the swift survive. Only the busy are blessed." And so, driven by this deep-seated fear, this silent agreement, you ran. You hustled with a desperate fervor. You planned every contingency, pushed through every obstacle, prayed with an intensity bordering on bargaining, and then pushed again, harder, faster, further. And with a sincere, but perhaps misguided, heart, you called it faith. You labeled it diligence. You saw it as your spiritual duty. But what if, underneath all that admirable drive, beneath that relentless forward motion, there resided a tiny, terrified child? A vulnerable part of you that had absorbed the profound misconception that God helps those who help themselves, and, even more tragically, a part of you that never truly trusted that you were intrinsically, unconditionally worth helping at all, without first earning it through exhaustive effort. This wound, this lie, is the hidden engine of your striving. And this, my friend, is precisely where the message becomes deeply, profoundly confrontational. This is where the comfortable facade begins to crack, because most people, hearing a truth like this, will offer a polite nod of agreement, perhaps a fleeting moment of self-reflection, and then, almost unconsciously, keep scrolling. They will acknowledge the surface tension without daring to delve into the depths. But the ones who allow this truth to truly land, the ones who are brave enough to sit uncomfortably, vulnerably, with the raw, unsettling discomfort of that piercing question, what if my faith was actually fear? Those are the ones standing on the threshold. Those are the chosen ones about to cross over into something entirely new, into a dimension of freedom and divine flow they have only ever dreamed of. This is not a casual encounter with revelation. This is an invitation to profound metamorphosis. What's coming in just a moment is not just another layer of insight. It is the absolute core, the pivotal understanding that has the power to break the cycle of striving entirely and liberate you into your true, unburdened self. Stay with me, for this is where everything shifts. Because once you have the courage to identify that insidious, deeply rooted fear lurking underneath all your ceaseless striving, the next, vital step is to confront and deal with what that striving has been consistently producing. I'm not talking about the external results, the accolades, the achievements, the material gains. I'm talking about the fruit it bears within your spirit, the invisible atmosphere it creates around you, the internal landscape it cultivates. I'm talking about the profound energetic and spiritual reality that most people never discuss clearly enough, if at all. Chronic, fear-driven striving creates a closed frequency. It's like trying to tune into a delicate celestial symphony while you're in the middle of a bustling, chaotic marketplace. When you are perpetually in hustle mode, when your entire nervous system is in a constant state of fight or flight activation, when your spirit is ceaselessly engaged in effort, in management, in desperate attempts to control every variable, you become, quite simply, too loud to hear what heaven is whispering. You are too busy, too frantic, too self-consumed by your own doing to truly receive what God is constantly, generously delivering. The breakthrough you've been praying for isn't being maliciously withheld. It is being drowned out by the clamor of your own hands, the frantic beat of your own heart. The dream that has been placed in you isn't delayed by a capricious God. It is standing patiently right at your threshold, knocking gently, persistently, and you cannot hear the sound of its arrival, cannot feel its presence, because the deafening noise of your own ceaseless doing is utterly overwhelming the quiet, persistent rhythm of its approach. You are blocking your own reception. Think about the incredible, yet deeply human, story of Elijah, the prophet. After experiencing one of the greatest, most undeniable spiritual victories in all of Scripture, a public showdown on Mount Carmel where he called down fire from heaven, confronting and utterly humiliating hundreds of false prophets of Baal, witnessing the undeniable, thundering hand of God move in a display of raw power that astonished a nation. What happened next? This triumphant prophet, this man of fire, collapsed under a solitary broom tree in the wilderness and, in a moment of profound despair, asked God to take his life. He wasn't collapsing because he was a failure. Far from it. He collapsed because he was utterly, profoundly exhausted. He had been carrying, spiritually and physically, an unbearable weight, far more than any single human being was ever designed to carry. And what was God's response to this worn-out, despairing prophet? He didn't rebuke him for his lack of faith or his moment of weakness. He didn't give him a new, more demanding strategy. He didn't download another grand vision or a detailed plan for the future. No, with tender, divine compassion, he fed him. He allowed him the profound gift of deep, restorative sleep. He touched him gently, woke him, fed him again, and then simply said, "The journey is too great for you, rest." And it was only after 2 rounds of supernatural sleep and physical nourishment, after his nervous system had finally begun to settle, after the internal din had subsided, that Elijah was able to hear the still, small voice of God. Not in the roaring wind, not in the earthquake, not in the consuming fire, but in the whisper, because that, my friend, is often where God lives, where his deepest truths and his most profound directions are found in that quiet, resonant frequency that only true rest, true stillness of the soul can access. And this leads us to another profound truth, a revelation that most people, caught in the relentless cycle of doing, miss entirely. The dream you've been chasing with such fervor, that singular, compelling vision that was carefully placed within the very core of your being, that profound purpose you instinctively know you were built for, that destiny that haunts your waking thoughts, it was never, ever designed to be hunted. It was designed, with divine precision, to be attracted. There exists a magnificent, unfolding version of your destiny that is inexorably drawn to you, not by what you do, not by your frantic efforts, but by times who you are, times in your most authentic, aligned state. And you cannot, by spiritual law, truly step into that version. You cannot embody that attractive frequency while you are perpetually operating in pursuit mode. Why? Because pursuit is, at its energetic core, about lack. Pursuit inherently declares, I don't have it yet. I am not there yet. I am incomplete without this thing. And the very energy of lack, the vibration of not enough, creates a repellent force, pushing away the very thing it so desperately chases. It's a self-sabotaging paradox. But rest, spiritual rest, that posture of absolute trust rest, says something entirely different. Rest says, it is already done. It is already mine in the unseen. I am already that person who walks in that reality. Rest says, the promise is already sealed in the heavens, and I am simply walking, with calm confidence, into what has been divinely prepared for me. That is not passivity. That is not resignation. That is faith in its purest, most potent, most advanced form. A faith that transcends visible circumstances and operates from a place of spiritual certainty. Now here is where things truly begin to shift in a way that will challenge the very foundations of your perception, and you need to be deeply ready for this, because it is going to confront and re-evaluate something you've likely spent a lifetime building your entire identity around. The version of you that has been working so incredibly hard, the tireless part of you that has been pushing, grinding, striving, believing with every fiber of its being that your breakthrough, your healing, your ultimate destiny is just one more Herculean effort away. That version of you, beloved one, is not your highest self. It is not your true, radiant, divinely connected being. No, it is your wounded self, a part of you that has been operating from a place of perceived inadequacy, doing its absolute best to survive, to prove its worth, to gain love and security in a world that often demands performance. And let me be clear, there is profound, holy grace for that wounded self. There is deep, overflowing compassion from the divine for every desperate prayer offered from a place of fear, for every sleepless night spent strategizing, for every plan you meticulously made when you truly didn't know what else to do. When you felt utterly alone and responsible for your own fate, God saw all of it. He honored all of it. He understood the intention, the fear, the underlying desire for good. But He is not calling you to live there, in that state of perpetual striving, anymore. He is calling you up. He is calling you out of the ceaseless doing and into the profound, magnetic power of simply being. He is calling you out of the frantic pursuit and into the peaceful, confident standing. And the transition between these two vastly different places, from striving to standing, from doing to being, is not comfortable. In fact, it can feel deeply disorienting, even terrifying. Why? Because the striving, with all its inherent stress and exhaustion, has become familiar. It's a known landscape, and familiar, even when it is slowly, insidiously killing your spirit, feels safe. It feels like control. It feels like purpose. But the divine invitation is to step into an unfamiliar freedom, a place where control is relinquished and purpose is divinely orchestrated. This, crucially, is where most chosen ones, most light-bearers, most individuals destined for greatness often stall. It's not because they lack belief. Often, their faith is profound. It's not because they aren't gifted. Their talents are undeniable. No, they stall because, paradoxically, they are more comfortable, more intimately familiar with, and more deeply identified with the struggle than they are with the blessing that awaits them. The struggle has a well-worn rhythm that they know intimately. It gives them a compelling reason to keep going, a clear enemy to fight, a narrative that makes sense of their lives, and a powerful identity proudly tied to overcoming, to resilience, to being a survivor. They know how to fight, how to push, how to endure. But the blessing requires something entirely different. The blessing demands that they stop overcoming, stop fighting, stop earning, and instead begin the radical act of receiving. And receiving, true spiritual receiving, requires a profound vulnerability. It demands the raw, honest admission that you cannot, and were never intended to, do this alone. It requires the surrender of the illusion of self-sufficiency. It demands the acknowledgement that the life waiting for you on the other side of your complete surrender, the destiny already orchestrated, is infinitely better, more expansive, more joyful, and more profoundly aligned than anything your most strenuous efforts or your most brilliant striving could have ever built or managed to achieve. It requires trusting God more than you trust your own capabilities. And just when you think you've finally located the deepest barrier, when you believe you've unraveled the last knot of resistance, there is often one more profound, deeply hidden layer underneath it all. Stay right here, in this vulnerable space, because this is the absolute pivot point, the part that changes everything about how you interact with your destiny and with the divine. The hidden root, the very core, the primordial lie that sits beneath the fear, beneath the relentless striving, beneath even the powerfully ingrained identity you've built on being an overcomer, is this single, insidious agreement. You don't fully, truly believe you deserve to receive without first earning it. That is the silent, pervasive agreement that has been running everything from the background, a subconscious program dictating your every move, coloring your every expectation. That is the invisible, yet impenetrable, wall that has been stopping every dream, every breakthrough, every blessing right at the door of your heart. Because deep inside, somewhere beneath the eloquent declarations, beneath the brightly colored vision boards, beneath even the most fervent, heartfelt prayers, there whispers a persistent, insidious voice. It's a whisper that insists, people like me don't just receive things. People like me have to fight tooth and nail for absolutely everything. People like me don't get to rest. Rest is for the privileged, for the undeserving, for those who haven't worked as hard. And let me tell you, with every fiber of my being, that whisper is not truth. That whisper is not the voice of God. That whisper is a generational lie, a spiritual inheritance of misunderstanding that was tragically handed to you by well-meaning but misguided people who were also handed it. People who worked themselves literally to dust, mistaking exhaustion for faithfulness, confusing suffering with worthiness, believing that pain was a prerequisite for blessing. People who, through no fault of their own, never truly knew, never truly embodied the scandalous, breathtaking truth that grace, divine grace, means unearned, undeserved, unstoppable favor. It means you don't have to work for it, qualify for it, or prove yourself worthy of it. It simply is. Understand this deeply and profoundly. You were chosen before you were even formed in your mother's womb. You were set apart, singled out for a magnificent purpose. Not because of your impressive work ethic, not because of your meticulously crafted plans, not because you hustled harder, pushed further, or sacrificed more than anyone else around you. You were chosen simply because God, in His infinite wisdom and foresight, saw something in you, an inherent brilliance, a unique resonance, a divine spark that the world has not yet fully seen, and perhaps even you haven't fully unveiled. And that something, that authentic, powerful essence, only truly comes out in the stillness. It only surfaces, like a precious pearl rising from the deep, when you finally, courageously, stop performing and start simply being who you were divinely created to be. The dream, the vision, the purpose for your life was placed within you before you took your very first breath, and it will come to you. It will manifest. It will unfold not because you forced it into existence with sheer willpower, but precisely because you were made for it, because it is inherently part of your divine blueprint, because alignment, true spiritual alignment, always, without fail, finds its target. Like a river inevitably flowing to the sea, what God has set in motion cannot ultimately be stopped or derailed by your temporary delays, by your moments of doubt, or by any perceived detour you might have taken along the way. His promise is immutable. So tonight, in this sacred space, the invitation extended to your weary soul is profoundly simple, yet utterly life-altering. Stop chasing the wind. Stop frantically managing the universe. Stop anxiously calculating every possible outcome. Come, simply come, into rest. Not the rest of the defeated, not the stillness of one who has given up in despair, but the powerful, active rest of the trusting. not the passivity of resignation, but the vibrant, expectant stillness of one who knows, with every fiber of their being, that the God who sovereignly called them into existence is also the same faithful God who carries them through every season, every challenge, every Red Sea moment. He is your strength, your provider, your shield, and your ultimate deliverer. Place your hand on your heart right now, feel the steady rhythm of your own precious life, and declare this truth, this new agreement, with me. Speak it not as a hope, but as a divine decree that reshapes your reality. I release the striving. I release the fear that I will be forgotten or deemed unworthy if I stop moving. I release every agreement I have ever made with lack, with delay, with the insidious lie that I must earn what grace has already freely given to me. I receive my breakthrough. I receive my healing. I receive the dreams and the divine assignments that were placed in me before I was even born. I trust the process I cannot see. I trust the timing I cannot control. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not too late. I am exactly where I am supposed to be, right here, right now, and what is divinely for me is already moving, with unstoppable momentum, toward me. I rest in that profound truth. I stand firmly on that unshakable foundation, and I walk forward into my future knowing, with absolute certainty, that I was chosen. I am covered by divine grace, and my season of effortless manifestation, my season of receiving, has already, truly, begun. If this message opened something profound and liberating in your heart tonight, don't allow that sacred opening to close again. Leave a comment below with the powerful word, rest. Let that be your personal declaration, your new agreement, your spiritual anchor for this transformative season ahead. Share this message with someone you know who desperately needs to hear this truth, who is exhausted by the chase, who is weary from the striving. And if you're ready to go even deeper, to fully immerse yourself in these principles and embody this new way of being, the ebook is waiting for you in the description below. This is not merely the end of a message. It is the powerful, undeniable beginning of a profound shift in your reality. And you, my friend, were ready for it, profoundly ready, before you even clicked play.